Want to get him to comment on the contenders for that title, actually. We got the top 10 contenders for the USWA title. King, come on around and have a seat, and let's discuss this situation a little bit. Since you are certainly very interested in how this list stacks up here. What we've got is the top 10 list of contenders for this belt right here, ranked
like a
in
David
order.
Letterman top 10
No,
list,
no. This one is absolutely serious, ranked by the USWA Championship Committee. Interesting changes in the list this week, which we'll kind of talk about as we go along. One thing I think is worth noting on here is that you have wrestled all but about 3 people on this list, who maybe we can talk about that as we go along on it. Why don't we just kind of get started with the number 10 man on the list. New to the list this week, Ricky Steamboat, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He was not ranked last week. He makes the list this week because the committee reviewed his record, and he has issued a challenge not only for you, but also says he'll wrestle any of the contenders to move up on the list. So Ricky Steamboat, number 10 on the list this week.
Exactly right. I mean, you know, it's no secret. Everybody knows what an impressive wrestler Ricky Steamboat is. He's been in, gosh, I guess every major organization or federation or whatever you want to say. And now he is wrestling basically independently. And like you said, he has contacted the USWA officials and issued a challenge to me for this unified world title. And so, you know, I've told the USWA officials that it doesn't really matter to me who they want me to wrestle, or I'll wrestle any of them. But the situation is, I guess, like, you know, with this top 10 list, you're going to have to basically go through the ranks and wrestle. I'm going to have to wrestle the guys that are considered by the USWA officials at least to be top 10 contenders. And now with Ricky Steamboat, a guy like Ricky Steamboat being in at number 10, that shows you what kind of a list of talent they have right here, you know.
You're exactly right. Well, in working up the list, you yourself have had to do that on numerous occasions as you were trying to become world champion.
Ricky Steamboat also, by the way, is one of the guys that I've never wrestled Ricky Steamboat. So it'll be an interesting match.
Very good. We'll see what happens. Ricky Steamboat, number 10. Number 9, Mr. Excitement, he's calling himself now. Dick Slater. He's down, though. He was number 6 on the list last week. This week, number 9.
Well, he's had several technical losses, I understand. That
yes.
This is you know, Slater's, he reminds me a lot of Terry Funk in the fact that he's a little bit of a maniac, kind of a wild guy, and he roughs up the officials, and he's gotten several technical losses in the past week, I think.
So, and as a result, he drops down to slot number 9. Number 8, Bam Bam Bigelow. He was number 9 last week, up 1 slot.
Yeah, now here's a guy that is never any fun to wrestle this guy. He's as tough as they come. You know, I've told a lot of people, I get asked often who's the toughest wrestler that I've ever been in the ring against, and he has to be he's in the top 10 list of that also.
Gotta agree with you. Number 7, Dr. Death, Steve Williams. He was number 8 last week. He's also up 1 slot.
Yeah, another one of the guys that I've never been in the ring against. Seen a lot of him, heard a lot about him. He's tough, but never actually had a chance to wrestle Steve Williams. But you know, that's one of the things that you always look forward to. You know, you hear about these guys and their reputations, how tough they're supposed to be, and you always like to find out just how tough they really are. So I'm looking forward to a shot at Steve Williams too.
He's number 7. Number 6 is Captain Redneck, Dick Murdoch. Captain Redneck, yes indeed. He's number 6.
Yeah, you know, this you said there are 3 wrestlers in the top 10 that I've never faced. He's the other one. Never wrestled Dickie. He's a big. You know, when you look at a guy, he's from Texas. He doesn't really necessarily look that much like a wrestler. He's just sort of like a big, raw-boned farm guy or something like that. But believe me, I understand that he's about as tough as nails, and he deserves that number 6 ranking there.
That's Dick Murdoch. And then number 5, and here is, well, maybe not a surprise, but certainly the biggest jump in the list this week, because he wasn't even in the top 10 rankings last week. Mean Mark Callous, all the way up to number 5.
Yeah, well, you know, he did very well in the tournament. He won a match, and then in the match that I was able to get a victory over him in, I wasn't able to pin the guy. You know, he didn't get pinned. It was a deal where he got a technical loss in the match. So he's been wrestling in the NWA. His record there has been very, very impressive. Beat a lot of guys. I understand he even had a non-title win over Sting and a lot of the different wrestlers over there that he beat. So he's you know, he's jumped right up to, well, nearly the top of the list there.
Yeah, he's tough.
Big
too.
guy.
Yes,
big
indeed.
Guy.
Very big guy. Number 4 is not so tall, but still tough. Superstar Bill Dundee.
Yeah. You know, he's as I said before, whenever I get asked who's some of the toughest toughest wrestler I ever faced, it's really, really difficult to actually name one guy. But I can say that some of the toughest matches that I've ever had in my entire career have been against Bill Dundee. He's not, he's not the strongest, he's not the biggest, probably not the toughest wrestler around. But when it gets down to business, he can be as hard to beat as anybody I've ever wrestled.
You're right. And then number 3 on the list, and I know you don't like seeing this name here, Eddie Gilbert, but he is the number 3 contender.
Well, all I can say when I see a name like Eddie Gilbert in his number 3 position, he's made a name for himself, but I don't think he's made a name for himself by actually beating any top contenders. I don't think he deserves to be that high. I don't think he even deserves to be in the top 10 as far as top wrestlers capable of wrestling for a world heavyweight championship. I think he takes every shortcut he can. I think when you do stunts like he pulled in the parking lot and that sort of thing, I don't think he deserves that kind of ranking.
Well, he is number 3 according to the committee. Number 2 on the list, Terry Funk.
Yeah. Terry Funk opened a lot of eyes in the tournament, especially. This guy's like he's like a living legend. I mean, what can you say about Terry Funk? He's completely a wild man. One of the things you notice about Terry Funk when he goes into a match, when he goes into an arena, when the bell rings, I mean, he has absolutely no regard whatsoever for his own body, for his own safety, so he's going to have even less for you. I mean, this guy really is like, when that bell rings, it's the old saying that you look in his eyes and the lights are on, but there's nobody home there. And believe me, he'll do anything and everything to, sometimes he's not even doing it to win. Sometimes he's just out there to punish and hurt his opponents.
Just out there running wild. Terry Funk, number 2. And, of course, oh, by the way, before we show you the number 1 contender, there are 2 wrestlers who fell out of the rankings this week, Austin Idol and Jimmy Valiant. Austin Idol due to an injury, and Valiant fell out because of a big loss or 2.
Yeah. You got to, you got to be real careful when you're ranked in the top 10. If you don't take every match very, very seriously and be prepared for every match, you lose a couple of matches during a week, and man, you're out of there. But there's always somebody that's right on your heels, nipping at your heels, trying to get into that top 10 position. And so, Jimmy lost a couple of matches and dropped out of the top 10. Idol, as you said, something I'm real happy about. He sustained a little bit of an injury at the hands of Bill Dundee and myself, and so he's unable to wrestle for a while, is what I hear. So he's not going to be ranked in the top 10 for a while, too.
And the number 1 contender, no real surprise here, since the holder of the Southern Belt is always the number 1 contender. It is still Jeff Jarrett, number 1 in line to go for this unified title.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a unique situation. I wouldn't think that probably a lot of the fans out there would watch this and not necessarily say that Jeff is has the experience or the size or the I don't know, tenaciousness of like a Terry Funk. But by the same token, you cannot deny the fact that he is the Southern Heavyweight Champion and has been the case in this area for forever. The Southern Heavyweight Champion is the number 1 contender for the world title. And so, you can't argue with the fact that if he's the champion, he deserves that number 1 ranking.
I got to agree with that and agree with you on that situation.
I will say this. If I had my choice of wrestling any wrestlers in the top 10, I'd rather wrestle Jeff than any of the rest of them, though.
How interesting.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying, I think I look at Jeff and I still say that here's a guy that's still on the rise. I think that he's got all the ability and I think his biggest part of his career is naturally still in front of him.
I
just a young guy.
Agree with that. Absolutely agree. A star is still on the rise, no doubt about it. There you have the top 10 list of the USWA contenders, and the man who holds the belt that all of them would like to have, the World Unified title, Jerry the King Lawler.
All right, thank you very much. I just want to briefly say one quick thing about Jeff Jarrett. He's involved in a situation where you're talking about the number 1 contender and the number 3 contender. One thing I'm always interested in watching is the fact when some of these guys get together, the way the rules are now in the USWA, somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. So when these guys in this top 10 get losses pinned on them, brother, that drops their contention down. So Jeff Jarrett is going to be going against Eddie Gilbert, and after what Eddie Gilbert, the stunts that he's pulled on not only myself, but on Jeff out here the last few weeks. This is going to be a big, big match. Matter of fact, I think, do you have...
I was just going to say, maybe we can take a look at some of the action that has already occurred between Jeff Jarrett
I can just
and
say
Eddie
that I know what Jeff Jarrett has got in store for Eddie Gilbert, and I think that after this week, you can look for maybe Eddie Gilbert to be dropping on down that list of contenders there.
Let's take a look at this action right here.